Hey guys, before we start the video, I'd like to say some things. First off, I'd like to apologize for the delay in my uploading of this video. I promised to release it back in March of last year, but some things happened that severely delayed my progress. So if you're interested in that, I'll put it in the description. Also, this entire project ended up being way more massive than I had anticipated, which was a huge reason for the delay. I do know that there's at least a couple hundred of you out there that have stayed with my channel and supported me despite numerous periods of extended inactivity. I can't thank you enough for the support, and I'd like to do something special for you guys to show my gratitude, so be sure to check out the description for that. And lastly, this project turned out to be super long, with the whole video being over 47 minutes. But I made a promise to make a tutorial for my homemade mini crossbow a while back, and it's finally here. I realized that no one wants to watch a 47-minute continuous video, so I decided to split it up into 4 parts. That way I can upload before the entire thing is finished. This is a highly complicated project, so if you're going to build it, I recommend that you not only listen to my voiced instructions, but also closely follow what I do in the video. Now let's get on with that tutorial. Hey everyone, a lot of you wanted to see how to make my homemade mini crossbow, so today I'm going to show you. This model is my newest and best design. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is make a rolled cardboard tube since it takes at least 12 hours to dry. We'll need a brass tube of this size and some masking paper. You can find the tubes in your local hobby shop, and a roll of masking paper can be picked up for just a couple dollars at any hardware store. Also at the hardware store, you can find a bottle of wood glue, which we'll be using a lot for this project. I cut the brass tube in half to get a length of 15 centimeters, so a 12 centimeter strip of paper will be a good width. I may switch between metric and customary units for precision, and because some items are named by either unit system, but I'll always provide unit conversions in the video. Let's go ahead and cut our 12 centimeter paper strip. I'm using a paper trimmer, but scissors will work just fine for this type of tube. From this piece of paper, cut a section off that's about 7 centimeters wide. I recommend cutting the rest of the strip into the same size and making multiple tubes. They are not easy to make, and it might take a couple tries to get a perfectly round, compact tube. Alright, let's get a plate or bowl to hold our glue. Any type of plate except paper will work. Pour 2 parts glue to 1 part water and mix it well with a paintbrush. The resulting glue should be about the consistency of whipping cream. With our thinned wood glue ready, lay your strip of masking paper on a flat, smooth, non-porous surface. If you put it on scratch paper or an unfinished wood surface, the paper might stick and the tube could be ruined during the making process. Use your brush to coat the surface of the paper, leaving a small strip at the end uncoated. I've found that the easiest way to make a rolled tube is to fold the end of the paper over the tube and tuck it in as much as possible. Once it's tucked in so that the tube is tightly wrapped, let it set for about 30 seconds. If you try to roll it right after folding the paper over, it'll probably move and lose its compaction. I've messed up quite a few tubes doing this. After waiting at least 30 seconds, begin rolling your tube. Apply pressure as you roll and make sure that there's no slack. You'll be able to tell by whether or not the paper morphs or flattens at all as you press down on the tube. Roll the tube all the way to the bottom, applying steady pressure the whole time. If you mess up like me and the tube isn't compact, you can probably still unroll it, tuck the paper back into the tube, and re-roll it. After getting to the end of the paper, roll the tube around in the leftover glue. This will ensure a good bond and give the tube a tough coat. Once you've finished rolling it and it looks good, remove it from the brass tube and set it up somewhere to dry. It takes at least 12 hours, which is why we did this step first. Alright, now we can get started on the crossbow's frame. The outside of the crossbow is made of cardboard. I use this cereal box from my local wholesale store that's thicker than the average cereal box. If you only have thin cardboard from a normal box, just use your wood glue to combine 2 layers. For this step, we'll need 8 popsicle sticks and a spacer. I'm using a slightly thicker brass tube, but the one we used for rolling our cardboard tube will work too. Glue a popsicle stick to the cardboard and be sure to wipe off all excess glue. Place your brass tube next to it and glue another popsicle stick on the other side. If you're using the same tube we used for making the rolled cardboard one earlier, don't push them together too hard, but use it as a guide to keep the sticks parallel. Make another pair of sticks in the same way so we'll have 2 identical pieces. Once those are done, make 2 more pairs of sticks, but don't space these ones apart at all. Glue them tightly together. After you have 2 pairs of each type, set a heavy object on top of the cardboard to keep it from drying in a curved shape. After about 30 minutes of drying, it's safe to cut out the pairs of sticks. Be sure to leave a full border around the pairs with space between them. For the pairs with no space, leave extra cardboard on the ends, but you can cut off the sides. Here's a quick view of how the pieces should look. Now choose one of the spaced pieces and cut the cardboard off of one end at the tip of the popsicle sticks. This is going to be the top piece of our crossbow. Now let's grab a ruler and flip the piece stick side up. The clipped end of the piece is our front of the crossbow. We need to measure out and draw where our slot for the trigger is going to go. The length from the front to the slot we draw and cut out is a crossbow's draw length. 8.5 centimeters is a good length, but if you'd like a more powerful crossbow, you can increase that by up to a centimeter. Don't put the slot any further than 10 centimeters due to the length of the popsicle sticks. Once we've drawn our rectangular slot, we need to drill a hole in it. Simply use a drill bit that's a little narrower than the slot and make a hole through the center. Once you've drilled through it, use a hobby file to expand the hole and turn it into a rectangle. Our next task is to remove the cardboard section in between the two popsicle sticks, stopping a few millimeters from the trigger slot. A rotary tool works great for this, and a hobby file can smooth it out and make sure the cardboard is even with the popsicle sticks. When finished, the middle should look smooth without any cardboard extending past the popsicle sticks. If you accidentally removed all the cardboard down to the trigger slot, don't worry about it. It's not really that important as we'll be getting rid of it later on anyway. For this next part, we'll need another popsicle stick. Cut off both ends and then line it up underneath the trigger slot. Mark the end of the crossbow piece on the new popsicle stick and then remove the excess length. Now we need to reduce the width of one end. Draw a 1 centimeter long rectangle to mark the part you'll be cutting off. Be sure to keep the middle section no less than 2 millimeters wide. A rotary tool works best for this procedure. When finished, a 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter wood cube should be able to fit on each side of the popsicle stick. If they can, go ahead and glue it to the top crossbow piece as shown. As usual, wipe off the excess glue. The middle of the popsicle stick should be directly underneath the gap in the top piece. It is possible for your piece to dry at a bent angle due to the gap we cut, so place a heavy object on each side to ensure it remains flat. Now we need a couple mini wood dowels. Here's a picture with their labeled dimensions. You can find these at most local craft stores or at this link. Since the track for the ammo is currently too deep, a dowel needs to be glued on top of the popsicle stick we just attached. Make sure the dowel is directly on the popsicle stick by pushing it down with another one. You'll need to use more than one and cut off any extra length of dowel later on. As always, wipe off the excess glue. When you've placed the dowels, they should be flat against the track so the slope doesn't change. 20 minutes later, the glue should be dry enough to trim the extra piece off with a rotary tool. You should definitely wear safety glasses or goggles for this step, and a dust mask wouldn't hurt. From now on, you'll see a safety glasses icon in a green circle when eye protection is recommended, and an icon in a red circle when it's mandatory for your safety and health. The same will be true for the dust mask icon. Now let's get out a new popsicle stick and cut the ends off. I forgot to mention earlier that you should save all excess pieces of wood in a scrap container. Some parts might come in handy later in this project and in future projects as well. Now color the stick any color you like with the marker and then cut it in half lengthwise. We'll be using these pieces as supports for the crossbow where we etch our groove for the string. The colored side will tell us when we've cut through to the second layer of popsicle sticks. Now decide which half fits better on each side of the crossbow track. Cut it in half, this time reducing the length instead of the width. You can put the other piece in your scrap wood container. We'll be gluing the colored side of the tracks against the piece so that it doesn't show. Put them on each side of the track, leaving space for your 3/8 inch or 1 centimeter wood cubes. As always, wipe off any excess glue. From here on, assume you need to clear the extra glue unless I say otherwise. Your crossbow piece should now look mostly like this. Let's go ahead and grab our wood cubes. Pick 2 good ones and glue them onto the end of the crossbow. The important thing here is to make sure the cubes are level with the tips of the popsicle sticks. They don't need to be against the 2 pieces we just attached, but they should be pretty close. Now that we have those in place, check to make sure that 2 more cubes can fit on the front of the crossbow piece. If they can't, look at the middle part of the popsicle stick under the track. If it's already as narrow as the track itself, don't trim it down anymore. If it's still somewhat wide, go ahead and carve some off. I'm using a hobby blade right here. Don't worry if your cube still won't fully fit in place, we can fix it later on. For this part, we'll need some 1/8 inch plywood. I found this large board of it at my local hobby and craft store, but you only need a small plank for this project. We need to cut out a small rectangular piece that's about the same size as our cubes, but a little bit shorter in height. I tried using my rotary cutter at first to cut the plywood, but after realizing it wouldn't work, I moved to using my Dremel. By cutting multiple pieces, we can choose the best possible one for our crossbow. Once we have our small rectangular plywood piece, let's just do a quick check to make sure that the two cubes can still fit nicely in place with the piece between them. Alright, that's looking good, so let's glue the plywood to one cube, making sure to line up the top ends. As you can see, there should be a small amount of space under the plywood. Now we can glue the other cube to the plywood and make the piece symmetrical. We'll need this piece to completely dry before we work with it again, so this makes a good spot for a break. This concludes part 1. I'll see you guys in part 2 to continue the crossbow.